She stood there, her bridal dress heavy with tears, the scent of roses mixing with the sharp sting of betrayal. The vows had just been exchanged when a stranger stepped forward, holding up a phone, and pressed play. The truth, his voice, laughing with friends about a bet to marry her, echoed through the hall. Guests gasped. She froze. And what she did next, no one expected. If you want to know how this beautiful love story turned into the most shocking wedding ever, stay till the end, and if you're new here, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe for more stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. It began in a crowded coffee shop, the kind where conversations tangled together like the scent of espresso and fresh pastries. A group of young men sat in the corner, their laughter loud, their egos louder. Among them was Adrian, the charming one, the type whose smile could melt ice and whose arrogance could freeze the same spot a second later. He had never been turned down by anyone. To him, love wasn't poetry, it was a sport. That day, the conversation turned into a game of dares and wagers. Someone mentioned the new girl in town, Clara, the quiet one with the soft eyes and an aura that felt untouched by the chaos of the city. She had just moved there, worked part-time at the local library, and had a habit of wearing pastel sweaters like they were armor. The guys joked that she'd never give someone like Adrian a second look. Bet you can't get her to fall in love with you, one of them smirked, sliding a $500 bill onto the table. The others chuckled, but Adrian leaned back in his chair, eyes glinting with the thrill of the challenge. Fall in love, he said slowly. I'll do better. I'll marry her. The laughter was deafening. More money landed on the table. The bet wasn't about money anymore, it was about pride, about proving that no one was beyond his reach. That evening, Adrian walked into the library. Clara sat behind the counter, reading a book with the kind of focus that ignored the world. When she looked up, their eyes met, and something flickered, though she didn't smile. That intrigued him more than anything. Most people fell into his charm like moths to a flame, but Clara's gaze felt steady, like she saw right through him. Day after day, he came back. Sometimes he'd pretend to look for books he didn't care about. Other times, he'd ask her questions just to hear her voice. She began to soften, just slightly, offering small smiles, short answers that grew longer over time. Weeks turned into months. The bet faded from his conversations with friends, but it never left his mind. He told himself it was just a game, yet, he started memorizing the way her laughter rose when she was nervous, the way her hands trembled when she was excited about a story, the way she always left little sticky notes in books for the next reader to find. One rainy evening, after he'd walked her home, Clara invited him in for tea. That's when he saw the worn piano in her living room. She played a melody so beautiful that Adrian found himself, quiet. Not performing. Not charming. Just listening. And for the first time, he wondered if he was still playing the game, or if the game was playing him. But pride is a cruel master. He never told her the truth. And when he proposed, on a rooftop lit with fairy lights, she said yes with tears in her eyes. She thought it was love. He thought it was victory. Their wedding was planned in a blur of flowers, dresses, and whispered promises. Clara didn't know that in the shadows, the truth waited, ready to crash down like a storm. The morning of the wedding was perfect. The sky was a flawless blue, the air warm with the scent of summer roses. Clara's dress shimmered as she walked down the aisle, her arm linked with her father's. Adrian stood at the altar, looking every bit the man who had won the heart of the woman he loved, or so everyone thought. The vows were exchanged. Rings slipped onto fingers. The priest's voice rose in the sacred question, if anyone knows a reason why these two should not be joined in marriage, speak now or forever hold your peace. The room was silent. Until it wasn't. A man in the back stepped forward. He was tall, dressed in a plain suit, his eyes fixed on Clara. In his hand, he held a phone. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice steady. But she deserves to know. Before anyone could stop him, he pressed play. The speakers filled with a recording, Adrian's voice, unmistakable. Laughter. The clink of glasses. I told you, I could get her. Not just date her, marry her. Easiest $500 I've ever made. Gasps filled the room. Clara froze. Her hands trembled. She turned to Adrian, who had gone pale, his mouth opening and closing like words might save him. Clara, He began, stepping toward her. Don't, she said, her voice breaking. The music of her piano, the nights they'd walked in the rain, every whispered promise, they all shattered at her feet. Guests whispered, some already standing to leave. Her father's hand tightened on her shoulder, but she pulled away. Clara's eyes burned with tears, but her voice grew steady. You didn't win, Adrian. You lost the only thing that was ever real in your life. She turned and walked down the aisle, not toward the man she was supposed to spend forever with, but toward freedom. The sunlight outside felt different. Warmer. Honest. Behind her, Adrian stood frozen, surrounded by the wreckage of his own making. And that's how a wedding turned into a lesson about trust, pride, and the cost of lies. If you found this story as shocking and emotional as I did, hit that like button and subscribe for more real, raw stories that will keep your heart racing until the very last line.